It's showtime.
Hey everybody, it's the D-Rock100, and welcome to Xenoblade Chronicles 2, the game interval where we're finally going to be hitting the world of All-Rest, and we're finally going to be seeing about what this crazy world has in store for us in a post-apocalyptic timeline. We are going to be joining with our beloved hero, and we're going to be seeing from what more this place has to offer. This is not his story. Why don't we go elsewhere and maybe find something a little bit more inviting, if you will. Welcome everybody, instead, to Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Torna the Golden Country. This is a special DLC download for Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and quite frankly, I actually really like this particular game. Even when I do get into the actual Xenoblade Chronicles 2 game, which I don't know if I ever will, but... And either way, this game is going to be shown to have quite the interesting lore behind all it. So, I guess with any further ado, I think it's about time that we, at long last, get into Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Torna the Golden Country. Before we do anything else, I know some of you are going to hate me when I say this, but... I am the scum of the earth when I say this, but the music is unfortunately going to have to be disabled for this. The reason of why I'm doing this, and follow me on this one, I'm trying to avoid copyright claims on this. Even though the background music that you're hearing right now is on the title screen, I actually have my reasons behind all that, but hopefully you guys will understand if I do it like this. I'll probably include some of that in a later portion of the game, but we'll see how it goes. So, without any further ado, let's get into it. Torna the Golden Country from Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And, well, we'll go for normal. You can change the typical settings at any time in the main menu, system options, and game settings. Boop.
The year was 3564. The 107th Indoline Praetor, Rhodalis, had sent an armed expedition against the country of Sia. Its capital, Amranta, fell overnight and sank beneath the clouds, along with the rest of the Titan. The destruction of Sia shocked all the nations of All-Rest. Officially, the act was attributed to a military alliance led chiefly by Indol and the emerging power of Mor Ardain. In fact, it had been the work of one blade, the Aegis, a man known as Malos. Said to be the architect's word incarnate. Back then, neither Laura nor myself knew how closely his fate would prove to be tied with ours in the days to come.
You're that eager to die? Then allow me to assist.
There's no end to them.
And it's not just the Wolf and Ferris. Even the Baluffo's caught up in it.
Laura, can you smell it?
Huh. Ugh, it stinks like...
Yeah, no doubt about it. Blood. It's driving them crazy.
We're getting into a fight right now as it is. Approach an enemy with R to target them. With the enemy targeted, press A to draw weapons. A character with a weapon drawn will auto-attack. Let's do it.
Should be no problem.
They'll live to regret this.
With every auto-attack hit, your art gauge will fill up slightly. It is called art and recharge. With the gauge full, press the corresponding button to use the art. So yeah, you can definitely tell for where this is going here. And unfortunately, this is going to be one of the slow-acting battles. If you use the art at the precise moment an auto-attack connects, you can cancel into the art without winding down for the attack. This is called action canceling. You can cancel arts into specials too, and by unlocking certain nodes of an affinity charge, which I'll talk about later, it becomes possible to cancel arts into another art. A successful cancel will charge the special gauge more than usual, so it's worth learning this tricky technique if you want to maximize efficiency. The team is composed of a driver and their blades. The level, experience, HP, strength, ether, agility, dexterity, and luck stats are common to all members of a team. Yeah, majority then we're going to be talking more about later. Come on. Almost got it. Nice. In battle, a team is split between vanguard and rearguard positions. The character in the vanguard is the attacker, while the rearguard plays support. You, as the player, directly control the vanguard. The rear guard will attack and revive buffs automatically. So that's something that's pretty cool to take note of. When you receive an attack, the damage you took will display as a red bar, indicating recoverable HP. This damage is healed by using a Vanguard switch. The recoverable HP will drain over time. Performing Vanguard switches whenever you can, and keeping your HP high is the key to victory. When the team's HP reaches 0, they'll be incapacitated. If you can't continue the fight, you'll be returned to the last landmark you pass, without any further penalties. And that's definitely worth something to take into consideration. Alright, once the rear gauge fills up in the battle, you can press the up or down to perform a maneuver called a Vanguard switch. When you trigger the Vanguard switch, the rear guard will move up into trade places with the Vanguard while attacking with the switch art. After the switch, the new Vanguard's art gauge will be full, ready to be used immediately, so using a Vanguard switch is a good way to press an attack. So like so.
You'll answer to me. More honed with each day.
So the move I just used is called a special. I'll actually be talking a little bit more about specials later, but right now, oh boy. A special is oh, never mind, we're gonna talk about it right now. A special is a move that uses cooperation between the team members to great effect. Using Arson will in turn charge in the special gauge. This is called special recharge. When the gauge is full, you can press A to use a special.
Chill stroke.
Don't watch my back.
This could be a little bit of a challenge, especially for some of the other matches we'll be seeing later on down the road. I'll be talking more about the specials in a little bit, as I'm actually going to talk about those in bios for the characters later on.
You'll answer to me. Chill
Alright. There's not really a whole lot to what we're saying at the very moment, but you'll be seeing later on down the road. You can charge the special gauge up beyond level 1, all the way up to level 4, whereas level 1 has the Vanguard attack alone. Level 2, 3, and 4 are a real team effort. But first, here's the free special gauge top up so you can try using a level 4 special and admire Laura and Jen's flawless coordination. When using a special, a button challenger will pop up on screen. I actually showed that a little bit ago. Press the right button at the right time and as instructed, and the move's effect will be magnified.
I need your help here, Jin.
Good. I'm with you.
Midnight Sun!
And that's how she wrote.
Laura!
Thank you, Jin.
Well, we've got room for improvement.
Of what?
This fighting style. It magnifies our strength, sure, but it leaves us wide open. When the sword is in my hand, you're left defenseless.
What, you won't keep me safe?
Huh?
I'll keep you safe, always.
I'll keep you safe, always. You still remember that?
I've thought about it. Every day for these 17 years. I'll never forget it. The day you set me free from a life of misery.
I see.
The future that the arrow is pointing to right now is the compass. The marker on it shows you where Laura and her friends should go next. The number above each marker gives you the distance to that object. Well, objective, excuse me. I guess it could be an object, could be one of many things. Also, if the object is located above or below you, you'll see an arrow pointing up or down. Now the arrows are pointing to the environmental info. This gives you the name of the current area as well as the weather and the time. The mini-map gives you the idea of what's around you. Pressing the left control stick lets you change its zoom and size, and the mark in the center shows your position and facing. Lastly, your current objective window. This explains what Laura and Co. should be doing right now. Now, a piece of important advice. Did you see that notification that said new tips has been added? In this game, you can check previous tutorials on the menu. The notification just now was to tell you that new options have been added to the menu. If you run into something you're unsure of while playing, go to main menu, system, tips, to see if it's been explained there. So, you finally got a chance to play the game. But, yep. We have a lot to talk about before we go any further, so before we can press on with this game, let's kind of get to know our personal buddies around here. So, let's get to it. Starting off is our good buddy Laura. Laura, she is what is known as a driver. Despite what you think at first glance, and I was kind of shocked about this at first, she's 28 years old. Let that sink in her for a moment. Laura has some pretty cool things to be explained about her in the process. Her weapon of choice is something that's very unique and it's only in this game. Well, the DLC that is. It is called a braid. It's a special kind of weapon that you'll be seeing more variants of this later on that could come in many different ways of fighting and then some. So let's talk about more about what she's really capable of. Her level, as the main Vanguard, she has 4 different kinds of attacks. First up, it is what is known as Swallow's Flight. This is a special art that's called the Talent Art. You won't be seeing this much later on down the road, unfortunately, since we're still kind of early. But she will cut half of her HP to recover recharges and that you saw in the battle when we're helping to charge up your certain attacks. Speaking of those, the one that you'll be seeing the most of all for what is known as the Path of Thorns. This it gives you a boost for canceling attacks. This is probably going to be her bread and butter for this. But what her really hit and makes it so that really hit makes the knife of cutting her throat so hot to them like butter is what is known as the Hungry Snake. This is probably going to be the most used Vanguard attack and that she'll be using. What it uses, it causes the opponent to go through a phase known as Break. We won't be seeing much of use for Break at the very moment, but we will be seeing lots of that later on in the game. In addition, it also causes an HP potion to drop. This is something you want to keep eyes out. You're going to be seeing a lot of enemies that's going to do a lot of damage, and if you can do any switches, well, you got to rely on those. Next up is Spinning Wheel. This causes an AoE and aggro down attack. I don't really pay much attention to AoE and aggros and all that much in this game, but it may be something that is worth mentioning later on down the road. Whenever she's not in combat and her partner is out, let's talk about her rear guards. This is for what is known as a special combination for where your buddies will switch out and they will do certain damage as it is. When she goes up from being a rear guard to a vanguard, she activates what is known as Touch Me Not, a switch art. This will cause the opponent to go into a launch. We won't be seeing much of that later on down the road, but it may be something that might be worth talking about later on. This is going to be a great combination that you'll be seeing later on, but it can be very tactical if you have the right equipment for it. Moon Dance causes enemy resist rate to go down, and, well, resisting your enemies, can't go wrong with that. Spindle Step is an AoE attack, which, once again, not bad to say the least. But what really makes it pretty cool is Sun Dance. This will cause a buff into attacking enemies from the back and also halves as aggro. If you can get into that very matter on how the attacking game really works out in this game, you might be considered him to be, oh, I don't know, pretty ecstatic for how one plays it. Now on to the specials. Her level 1 special, it's called Wildfire Snaps. This causes a multitude of strikes, I think up to 7 hits, and that really puts some pressure on your opponent. This is for when things are going to get a little bit tricky. What I mean is that these attacks are going to be going all over the place, and if you know how to use them correctly, well, you'll be shown to have a great combination as it is. Unfortunately, you're going to be using this move a lot, and it could do any damage between 240 to 384, depending on how powerful that you are later on. Her level 2 special is actually one of my personal favorites. This is what is called Ring of Roses. This is a 9-hit attack that circles around the enemies and deals them some good amount of damage. This is a really good move and has a 25% chance of a critical mod. I gotta consider this to be a jack of all trades if used correctly. The big thing to really be careful with is that Ring of Roses attacks all around the enemies. So that's something to definitely take into consideration. Her level 3 special is called Spiral Snare. A 6-count hit and targets the opponent in front of you that does 400 to 544 base damage and it's a 50% critical mod. This is probably going to be her finishing move that you're going to be seeing a lot. And we haven't seen much about this yet, but we will see a lot of this later on. You're going to be ending your moves, especially for blade combos, with level 3s and never for level 4s. The more damage that you do with this, the better your odds. And finally, her level 4 special, Midnight Sun. This is a special that is only done when it's at maximum level 4, and you're never going to be seeing any of your partners going to be doing it except for yourself. It does 1,270 base damage to the opponent in front of you, hits 7 times, and has a 100% chance of dealing a guard annual attack and a 40% critical hit mod. Don't always rely on these particular attacks. They can be dangerous if you don't know how to use it in the correct way. It does cause knockback, but that's pretty much all it's ever really good for. But other than that, the level 4 special is great. I just don't recommend that you use it for any situational matches. And now let's get on to probably the one who has the most...
Everyone.
Oh,
I'm
one more
all
thing.
adventured out.
If you've been noticing around
Let
the
me know if you want
background,
to rest.
the flaming hint that you see in my Pokemon bios is her starting hitting element, fire. As I said, you'll be seeing a variety of this later on, depending on the type of braid that she's holding. We won't be seeing any of them for a while, but it is something to take into consideration. And now let's move on to her partner, Jin. This is probably the most badass blade that you'll be seeing down the road. What really makes him stand out is the fact that he isn't... Well, look at him. He's a badass. He kind of looks like a certain bad guy from another series, but then again, he's created by the very same guy who created the guy. With the Nodachi sword in hand, can't go wrong with something as powerful as that, eh? He is an ice elemental blade, and, well, let's talk about him. His Vanguard arts is probably going to be the one thing that's going to be talked about a lot. When using this talent art of Inexhaustible, it consumes recoverable HP and boosts the stats. I consider this to be a very tactical play, but I don't like relying on it a lot. So make sure that you know how to use it. It will drain your HP in the process. Chill Stroke does more damage to him when you're attacking him from the back. Once again, a great move, but this is a little bit on the situational side. I was saving it for now, but these two have a combination of attacking the opponents from a certain angle. Snow Blast is an AoE side attack up attack, and oh boy, this guy knows how to bring the chill for those amounts of attacks. And finally, Star Slash. This is a piercing attack in that, well, true to its name, it does a lot of damage and through piercing damage. For what it is, it's a little bit complex, but the more that you use this later on down the road, it is a really nice hint to have in the process. This adds a 50 to 100% chance to annual defense. Not bad to say the least. And now, let's talk about probably the most important thing about the guy. Blades are known to have what are known as infinity charts. I'll be showing you an example of what an infinity chart looks like right now. This is how you're going to be leveling up your blades. These blades will have special battle skills and field skills. They will gain in strength depending on how much you've been using them and if you're using them in the correct way. Let's talk about his first special. His level 1 special is Hail Strike. It cuts the enemy's veterans with a series of quick and relentless slashes. Basically, it does 240 to 384 base damage. It's 7 hits, and it has a 100% to 150% chance of critical mod. The higher up that you get to for what does a particular attack with your infinity charge, the greater the damage. That's why I consider that you can keep a closer eye on how your affinity charts work, and so on and so forth. His level 2 special, Zero Blade. This is a combo attack of sword cuts and ice spears delivered at absolute zero. 320 to 464 base damage, which increases damage dealt to topple enemies by 100% to 150%. We haven't seen topple yet. But if you use this in the correct way, oh boy, it's a great move to have. His level 3 special, Ice Revolution. Unbalance your foot with a palm strike, then follow up with powerful slashes. This increases damage dealt to higher level enemies by 60 to 100%, along with a critical mod with a knockback and a blowdown. 400 to 544 base damage, 6 hits, and attacks the opponent right in front of you. You'll be seeing this move done a lot. So as long as you know how to use it correctly, you got nothing to worry about. And finally, his level 4 special, Midnight Sun. It follows Laura quickfire slashes with a full force cleave. This only works with Laura and Jin out in battle. It causes knockback and it does 10 base aggro. 1270 base damage and has a 100% chance of dealing a guard annulling attack and a 40% crit mod. It's powerful, but it does come with a bit of a situational that can be a problem. You'll only be doing this while you're playing as Jin, though. Nothing else. Oh, right. I almost forgot. We got rear guards to talk about. Thin Ice. A switch art that deals topple damage. This is not a bad move, but unfortunately, that's about where the good thing about it ends. Unfortunately, I don't like relying on topple with Jin a lot, but instead, I use other methods while using Jin. That's why I consider this switch art to be a little bit of a jack of all trades, really. Frostbreak, on the other hand, is a phenomenal move. What it does is that it's an AoE attack and that does 3 hits and it can go up to 545 art power with 14 aggro. But unfortunately, I don't like relying on it too much because, well, it barely does a lot of damage since the rear guards don't do a lot of damage in the process. Skycleave, on the other hand, this is going to be his bread and butter while being in rear guard mode. This increases damage done by launch enemies 550 to 75%. This can be a challenge, but I only recommend that you use this in tight situations. And finally, Freeze Bomb. This increases damage done to topple enemies by 50 to 75%, not to be confused with launch. Like I said, we haven't seen any of that yet, but we will be seeing a lot of that later on down the road. So as it stands, we have a great combination of attacks that are from either angles, and it can be done in minor ways. His first battle skill, Transmigration, increases damage done by 30 to 50% on every Vanguard switches. Maxes out at 250. This, holy crap, is great. Dealing more damage for every Vanguard switches is key to how to use this in battle. Full Resonance deals 60 to 100% damage or more and take 10 to 30% damage and less at max affinity. We'll be seeing more of an affinity later, but man, it's going to be very useful once that thing is at maximum capacity. And finally, Mind's Eye increases in critical damage by 20 to 80%. The more that you use this, the greater your chance of dealing critical hits. Finally, Field Skills. Every blade that you're going to be seeing has 3 special field skills. In Jin's case, Mineralogy, which will extract minerals from certain locations, but it'll only be for certain locations depending on where you're looking at it. Swift Swordplay is a specialty of his. There are certain obstacles that you'll be seeing that require certain field skills and will increase in power later on. This is going to be one of them. By completing more of the Infinity Chart, you'll be seeing more of that later on down the road. Finally, Fortitude. To which I say, wow, this thing is going to be rather interesting. For Fortitude, which kind of goes without saying, well, I guess it really does a lot more to helping out with others later on. But in all honesty, you'll be seeing more of that later on, but oh well. As it stands, we got some pretty good hidden members and to start off with, and they actually kind of starting off with a group that I consider to be a jack of all trades. So, with that said, let's get into it. So if I'd like to direct your attention, let's check out Laura's affinity chart. Hers is going to be a little bit different, and it'll be more accessible later on. And unfortunately, at only 113, we have a long way to go. These will help increase her skills in battle as a driver, but it'll be more later on down the road for others. We'll be seeing more of her other skills that I talked about a little bit later on. But like I said, this is where you're going to be seeing your vanguards and rear guards at. In fact,
It takes time and effort to get this good.
you're not wrong. So now let's move on to Jin. And holy crap, we have a long way to go with Jin. And as you can see, we're only at the level 1 affinity, and it maxes out at level 5. I'd like to take this moment to talk about the trust in these. With every progress in that you make, and every objective in that you complete, will increase the trust. You need to keep an eye on these things in order to increase your power. We'll be seeing more of these later on down the road. And as you can see, some of these can only be unlocked by completing certain objectives. Or I guess in this case, conditions. With that said and done, I think you may be seeing where we're going with. So, let's go. Actually, I guess we haven't collected much of anything really since we just started the game, but meh, why not?
Polished to a high shine.
Thank you. So, let's go. Never mind. Ours features 3 kinds of areas: locations, landmarks, and secret areas. You can instantly travel to any previous discovered landmark or secret area from the skip travel menu found in the main menu. Thank you. I never would have guessed.
These guys should be no
I won't enjoy this.
more trouble. More trouble.
Yeah, maybe getting into a fight that might have been a bad idea, but it's not a bad thing to have happen from time to time.
You read my mind.
Let's switch.
All right.
Think you can keep up, Laura?
Oh, we got a new attack on our hands. Snow Blast.
Chill stroke.
Back into the fray.
Oh, sweet. That's new.
With you there.
Indeed.
Wow, we're already off getting some pretty good items right off from the start.
Laura, let's switch.
Take this.
Vanguard are required. Oh, nice! We got them all!
Uh-oh. I think we've been spotted.
This is where things are gonna get fun.
My senses are heightened.
Yeah, we got this. Break.
My
Let's
turn.
hear. That's the way this is
No
going.
blast.
Take this.
Sweet! We're already leveling up and things are off to a great start as it is.
Uh-oh. I think we've been spotted.
Alright.
I'll protect you.
Yeah, if you couldn't tell, you're gonna be seeing a lot of enemies right from the get-go.
You read my mind.
And this item right here that I'm going to right there,
With you there.
that is an HP potion. Everyone said that collecting these may be a good idea. It's better to rely on that and not always with Vanguard switching. This is where you're gonna get by on that.
Boundless.
Now that's more like it. Break.
And we've already gotten some pretty good items right off the bat. Let's check out some of our accessories. She has 2 slots and a weapon slot set for her selected weapon. Got a shell camo here. Increases HP restored to self. I guess it may be something that may be worth considering. As for Jin, he has 2 aux core slots. And it looks like we don't have Sunlight Eye. Increases accuracy during the day by 20%. May not be a bad idea to have on hand. Okay. Oh, sorry. Weapon modification, nothing new there. Anything we could do from over here yet? Nope, doesn't look like it.
Spoiling for a fight.
Alright, so Balufo.
It bounced.
Well, I need you just a son of a bitch.
You read my mind. Let's heal up. You're doing well. Take this.
Really? You're gonna be relying on his cheap tactics like that?
Into the fray. Now that's more like it.
So if you've been noticing at the top left of the screen, our HP restores quickly after the battle is concluded. Alright, let's see here. Come over this way. We're reaching our destination. Hello?
What happened? Are you alone?
Looks like the only survivor. These burn patterns don't look like Malice's handiwork. Must have been humans. Looting and pillaging while the world burns.
Hey, it's okay. Would you like to come with us? You don't have to worry, really. We're all good people. Promise.
Can you walk? You can. Good going.
That boy's gonna become pretty important for something later.
And your family? Were they there with you? Should we go back and...
Mikhail.
Hmm?
My name is Mikhail.
Oh, right. I'm Laura. And he's...
I don't have a family. I was sold to this village from Estem. So, I'm all alone.
I see. Right then. Starting today, we're going to be your new family. We'll take you back to our friends and...
You people? You're strangers. You don't have to pretend to care.
You don't beat around the bush, do you? He's gonna be a handful, this one. Though really, I was just the same once. Very well. Friends first then, not family. How's that sound?
Laura,
What's up?
I'll scout the area. Look after him.
Oh, of course. Be careful. And Jin.
I know.
What was that you said, Baldric?
The Cian capital of Omrantha has fallen. Or rather, it was annihilated. Praetor Redalis.
So it has come to pass after all.
Respectfully, you aren't much of an actor, Eminence. It appears you are not surprised at all. We heard disturbing rumors circling among the Magisters. Amalthus, whom you recently elevated to Quester? People wonder if this calamity has anything to do with that man's blade. With such extraordinary power, is it really wise to,
No matter whose power affected it, it is sure to serve the greater glory of Indal. The architect will surely be pleased.
Eminence, do you believe it can be controlled?
If it cannot, I will let him take the blame. I have spoken. Thank you for your report, Magister Baldric. You may return to your duties.
This is like a good spot to set up camp. Yeah, I'll start preparing the food. Oh wow, you're a sturgeon! What do you reckon you'll make? Let's see now. I should be able to get my hands on a few choice ingredients around here. If you can find some Torna and trout, deviled onions, and sour avocados, I could stew them together. You like trout starloo, right? It's absolutely divine. You'll join us for a bit to eat, won't you, Mikhail? I guess. Perfect. Then let's set to work and hunt for those ingredients. All three of those things should be easy to come by around here. No need to travel off the beaten path. What you're looking at right now is the collection point. And check here to uncover collectible items. You'll find here collection points are all over Ares, and each area has its own selection of items to discover. Also, there are some collection points where you can use Blaze's field skills to find special collectible items that you couldn't get otherwise. The collectibles that you find are sure to come in handy during your adventure. So if you come across the collection point, be sure to check it out.
Aren't we intrepid?
So let's see what we got here. Okay.
Aren't we intrepid?
Got a lot of sour avocados.
This is becoming addictive. All right, follow my lead.
I won't enjoy this.
Alright. So, during this fight, do you see that little snowflake that's right next to the name on the right? That is the element that is showing up for what the enemy is weak to. In this case, it is weak to ice.
Superb!
Alright! So why don't we kind of take a moment to explore a little bit more of the place? There's, well, at least in this beaten area, because we didn't really do a lot of exploring at the moment. But there's definitely going to be some things around here that you may want to look around for. Let's see here. Anything over here?
This is becoming addictive.
We got some flora right here. And oh, right here. Boop. The indigo slate piece. Boop. You are going to want to collect these items. They're going to be found in certain locations, and you really, really want to look into those items. Trust me, I might have just saved you some satisfaction.
Aren't we intrepid?
And we found a gold spot right here. This shows them that you'll find some of the more rare items. Observe!
This is becoming addictive.
Well, kind of. So, without any further ado, let's head back to the campsite and kind of have our little heart-to-heart moments. Right. We've got our ingredients and fire's nice and toasty. I think we're all set for the night. Jin, would you mind making a start on the cooking? I'll get right to it. The plate's doing the cooking? Got a problem with that? Better Jen than me. If I were in charge, I'd probably end up losing a limb peeling the veggies. It's not all one-sided, though. Laura has her own talents, like making charms. That I could never do. Right. We'll make up for each other's strengths and weaknesses. Blade or driver, no one has to shoulder all the burden. Okay. I'm going to start to make a start on the trout straw. Oh, crap. Wrong voice. Okay. I'm going to make a start on the trout straw. It won't take long. From here, we have a choice to rest, to craft things, and have a chat. Let's start with a little bit of a chat. This is kind of like a special heart-to-heart that we see from the base game, and it kind of makes up for the lack of ones from in this game. Laura, about that battle earlier. I know, right? We were phenomenal. You're trying to do too much. Oh, what? I thought you were going to praise me. I'm only trying to draw out your full power, Jin. You know that. That's fine, and I appreciate it. What I'm saying is, please don't put yourself at risk, Laura. We've been together a long time, haven't we, Jin? Ever since I touched your core crystal as a little girl, we became bonded forever as driver and blade? Yeah. It's a bond closer than blood, I think. That's part of the reason why I want to help you too, see you grow, and be there for you. That's beautiful, Laura. But you're a driver and I'm a blade. Blades protect their drivers in a fight. It's the natural orders of things. Especially since we don't need to worry about being wounded, as long as the core crystal stays intact. Well, I, on the other hand, am just a human. When a driver dies, their blades return to their cores. That's why you want me to be more careful, right? Exactly. Right. I get it. Well, it's not like I want to make you anxious in the middle of a fight. Okay, I promise not to overdo it. If things start looking bad, I'll be sure to switch out for you. That would be great. Thanks. I'm counting on you then. You know I never let you down. So now we have 2 craft materials that are ready for us. The charm making.
Let's get down to business.
Unfortunately, we are lacking in certain items to create any of these. These special charms are what are called pouch items that help us improve our battle capabilities. You'll be seeing these items all around the locations, so be sure that you collect them more later on down the road. The more items that you collect, the more likely you're going to be able to get some of these awesome items. Hit the ZR button, we go straight to this. Home cooking. This is Jin's specialty. Unfortunately, well, I guess we technically can make this one, but instead, we're going to be making the trout straw.
It's ready.
How sad. That village, I mean.
It is.
That blade, Malos. He didn't do that, did he?
The towns raised by the Aegis were completely obliterated. I plan to inform the mercenaries of this.
How could a person do something so awful?
Anyway, you should rest now. We should be able to meet up with Hayes tomorrow.
Oh, yes. I wonder if she's found any leads on Mother. I hope so, anyway.
I'll prepare food, then rest up.
Oh, that's kind of you. Thanks.
That really hit the spot. You know, I really can't think of anything better than waking up to Jin's cooking. Scrumptious. You scarfed down that quick. 1 second. But Kyle, relax. He's not gonna bite you. Don't let the whole moody thing fool you. He's genuinely concerned about you. Moody thing? Look, if there's anything you need, just tell us, alright? Nuh-uh, I'm fine, really. Okay, I hear you. Listen, I know Jin can seem a bit scary, but he's really very gentle. You'll get used to him. I just need to clean up here. Then we can move out. Feltley, it can't be far now, can it? Where we're meeting up with Hayes. That's right. There's still a way to go, but if we keep on the road, it won't take long. Certain places on the wild allow you to make camp. These 3 things that you can do in a campsite are resting, crafting, and chatting. In rest mode, use bonus experience to level teams up. Crafting uses collectibles to make items. In chat, speak with the allies for advice on how to proceed. As you can see, camps are places for preparations and growth. When entering a new area, it's worth scouting out the next campsite first. Crafting is one of the actions available when camping. It expends the collectibles to create pouch items as well as valuable and unique items with particular properties. As your adventures progress, you can obtain more recipes to expand your crafting repertoire. For example, by completing quests or raiding treasure troves. Pouch items can be set inside a driver's pouch to empower that driver's team for a fixed duration. You can always create more by crafting them at a campsite, so use them as much as you can, for instance, when preparing for a difficult battle ahead. And I guess with that said and done, I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to end things off right around here. We've had a lot covered. We've almost got an hour into this. A lot has happened. And unfortunately, Laura, you're going to have to wait and get prepared for another time. So, next time on Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Torna, the Golden Country, we head over to Feltley Village and we'll meet up with this Hayes person. Alright? See you guys then.